My story begins back in 1974 as a freshman at Norfolk State University, and I was a physical ed major, which meant that I had to take swimming as a requirement. And so, back then, black folk and the water was not cool. So I was in this class, and there were so many of us in the class because we were majors, so it was a required course. And most of us could not swim, had no experience, had never been introduced to water at that level where we had to be there. So anyway, I met this young man. I met my husband. Didn't know then he would be my husband, but he was one of those people who never gave up in swimming. The rest of us laughed. We spent a lot of time, wasted a lot of time, but he never gave up. In fact, we would say, Coach, when he finishes, we're not going to have any water in the pool. He never gave up. And so let's fast forward just a little bit. That was Mr. Jeremiah Cuffee. I met him in 1974. Okay. About 5 years later, after I had finished Norfolk State and had decided I wouldn't teach because I didn't want to kill anybody's children, I decided that I needed a real job. So I was working temporarily in the mall, Military Circle Mall, at McCrory's. I know you all, most of you may not even remember that, but it's a very old story. I worked in McCrory's, loved it. I was working one day diligently, and a young man came through and said, "Hey, I know you." And I said, "I know you. You're the guy in swimming when we didn't have any water left in the pool." And he said, yeah. But listen, he passed. Most of us failed because he never gave up. And today he's an excellent swimmer. Okay, let's fast forward a little bit more. I'll be fast forwarding quite a bit because this is 48 years of a story that I have to tell you. So as we started to date, and every time he came to see me, he had on his brown leisure suit and his black shirt and his black shoes, and I was so tired of that little country man. And I decided, I need something more than this. So I started to duck him, dodge him, dump him, all kinds of things. And so that went on for a while, and we parted our ways, and we were still friends because, listen, I gained a family when I gained him because the family loved me from day one. They absolutely loved me, and they were wonderful, and I loved them. And so whenever something was going on, they would always call me and let me know, come on down and get something to eat, or we'll send you a plate or whatever. So years and years of doing this. And finally, during the course of, I started with Norfolk Police, and then I ended up at Norfolk State University as a police lieutenant. And during the course of that, not dating and not dating, Jeremiah came to Norfolk State for a job. And my chief said to me, because everybody knew him, because everybody knew who I was dating and not dating or running from or ducking and dodging. So my chief asked me very frankly one day, she said, "A Jeremiah Cuffee has applied for a job. Is there going to be any trouble?" I said, "Oh, no, we don't date anymore. Just hire him." I said, "For one thing, I live around the corner, and he lives way in the country in Chesapeake, and he'll be at work long before I get here, believe me." So that was good. She hired him, and he turned out to be an excellent employee, but we weren't dating. We weren't dating because I believed that I shouldn't be dating somebody that was working under me, and I was his supervisor. So sometimes when he would mention something about our relationship, I would threaten him with that. Say another word and see what happens to you. So that's how I kept that at bay. So we spent years of just doing that. Let's fast forward a little more. During the course of working at Norfolk State University, I had an opportunity to travel, and my chief's niece owned a bridal boutique. So I was in Richmond one day, and I bought a bridal gown, and somebody was saying, "Why?" I said, "Well, someday I'll get married, so I'll just keep this gown." Okay, got a gown, nobody to marry, and hadn't made a decision about getting married. So finally, as time went on, Jeremiah found other employment. He left Norfolk State, he went to ODU, and he finally went to Thomas Nelson, where he retired from. But during the course of those years, I discovered that Jeremiah, his sisters called me because they loved me, and they always wanted me to marry him. They would say, "Please marry our brother." I would say, no, not ready for that. But they called me one day to say, "Jeremiah is getting married." And my God, I began to shake in my boots. So I said, "Oh, God." So it turned out that he was going to get married on a cruise, and a hurricane came. I don't know which one. I asked him which one it was. We don't know. Anyway, the hurricane came. He did get married. Something happened to that relationship. Good. So I said, this is time for me to make my move, because I knew that without a doubt this man loved me. I had dated so many guys, but this one really loved me. So it was time for me to make my move. So I made my move, and I began to date him a little bit, and then we began to get a little bit more serious. And in 2006, I believe, we became engaged. So by this time, Jeremiah was a minister, and he had a church, and I had invited someone to speak for his anniversary. And then I invited them, in the tradition of black folk, come to dinner right after church at Mom's house. I knew they would be fed well and they would enjoy it. So they came to dinner, and somebody in that setting said to my mother-in-law, how is it that they have dated so long and nobody has talked to them about marriage? And I started to stand up and say, well, it hasn't been that long. And my mother-in-law stood up with both hands on her hips, said, it's been 32 years, because I've been counting, and it's time to do something or nothing. And I said, oh my God. Now this was in 2011 when she did, and she was 80 then, she's 90 now. She said that in 2011. So that was in March. A few months later, a friend of mine was about to have her 25th wedding anniversary, a chosen sister, and she had this beautiful home and a lovely lawn and fountain in the yard. And she said to me jokingly, she said, you know, Aunt Regina, you and Jeremiah can use this on Sunday because we're doing our thing on Saturday. And I said, oh, please, please. So I called one of my girlfriends. I said, you know, that Michelle is a trip. She has offered me the opportunity to be married at her home, but why wouldn't she tell me ahead of time? And my girlfriend, whose name is Barbara Miller, and who can do anything and everything, she can make it happen. Barbara said to me, now, Regina, you know, we can do this. This is on a Wednesday. She said, we can do this, but you can't tell me on Friday you've changed your mind. I said, girl, I got this. I'm ready. I'm ready. So that evening, Barbara called me to say, you really can't change, because I got a wedding cake already donated to you. And I got some other things for the wedding. I was thinking, oh my God, I really have to do this. So I called Jeremiah at work. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm just walking, checking buildings. I said, well, we're getting married. He said, I know we are. I know you'll make your mind up soon. I said, no, we're getting married Sunday. He said, Sunday? I said, yes. He said, that's short notice. I said, well, we don't have to do it. He said, oh, yes, we do have to do it. So I told my sister-in-law, and I told a couple of friends. I told some people at work. It's word of mouth only. Y'all got to tell these folk about this wedding, because I don't have time for invitations. And let me tell you, on the day of that wedding, which was, we talked about this on Wednesday, and we married on Sunday. So that's the 11th, and we married on, we talked on the 5th, and we married on the 11th. So, is that right? Anyway, we married 5 days later. So anyway, at that wedding, there were so many people. My friends who owned the home said, how in the world did they get this many people with no invitation? Honey, they had more people than we had. It was standing room only. We had a huge tent, silver fountains, gorgeous flowers, fountain in the backyard, running a pool. We had the best wedding. I could have never planned it so well, because Barbara said, you don't get to change your mind when I start this ball to rolling. And so that has been a blessing. And so now that's been 38 years, and we add 11 to that, and that's 37 years plus 11. We've been married 11 years, happily married. So that's 48 years of this process. And so what do we learn from this? Sometimes we don't even know what we need. And did I tell you that when I first graduated from Norfolk State, I was engaged then, but that didn't work out. But here's the deal. Sometimes we don't know what we need. And then it turns out sometimes that the very things that we need most are right in front of us. If we would take a moment and just breathe and just appreciate. And so I want to dedicate this song to my husband, which I often do. And give me a moment. You've been faithful, you've been true. When you've done all that you can do, and for your faithfulness, it's your time. You've applauded for the rest. Now it's your time to be blessed. And for your faithfulness, it's your time. You've been faithful. You've been faithful, you've been true, and you've done all that you can do. And for your faithfulness, it's your time. He waited for so long, but he held on, he was strong. And for your faithfulness, it's your time. He waited for so long, and he held on, he was strong. And for your faithfulness, it's your time. You've been faithful, you've been true, and you've done all that you can do. And for your faithfulness, it's your time. My name is Regina Cuffee, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you. Woo!